So I'm Martina Otto. I'm the head of the Secretariat of the Climate and Clean Air Coalition. This is really a reflection of what we have achieved over this past week here in Brazil, in Brasilia. So we've brought together over the past week our 200 country IGO and civil society partners to help drive down super pollutants. And it's been an amazing experience with seeing so many engaged partners full of enthusiasm to help take the actions. Super pollutants being actives that drive climate change, but also have an impact on air quality locally and in a transboundary. The super pollutants, they operate on time and temperature. Their only way to turn down the heat in this decade. It's pretty much the opportunity to still limit the overshoot over 1.5 degree warming, which is the Paris Agreement objective. What we have done here is really a capacity support event. People have a lot of trust that has been built over time to share what the challenges are, how they've addressed it, but also to be very honest, how something hasn't worked out. And that is something that really helps us to accelerate the action by taking the learnings from everybody and put them to action going forward. We also heard quite a bit from our scientific advisory panel, and the CCAC has always been rooted very strongly in science. And we heard a few new findings and new reports that are underway. They will help us guide our actions going forward. But we also heard quite a few messages that will help us shape our narrative, how we will react, be able to react in this present situation where we see ODA, official development aid, dwindling, where we see a real concentration on how we can help people who don't have enough money in their pockets for their day-to-day. How do we drive economic development? And this agenda that we are having holds so many business opportunities that we can put to work. So it helps us shape the narrative. And the third part that I wanted to highlight is really about finance. We had quite a bit of emphasis on that. The key here is, how do we make the dollar go longer? What do I mean? It's 1 + 1, not 2, but 1 + 1 = 11. Interesting math. But what do I mean by that? If we structure our interventions in a way that we can build on each other. So the CCAC is providing funding for capacity support. That's relatively modest amounts of funding, but very catalytic. We align that with what the philanthropic world does, often with regard to innovation and so on. We have really strong cooperation with the multilateral development banks and look at what we can do, how this can be brought to scale. And that's super interesting. And that's what I mean with making the dollar last. In the title, we had importantly the NDCs, the nationally determined contributions. And that was a key pillar of our activities here, but we look at submissions coming along all the year up to COP30 here in Brazil again. Why do we stress these NDCs? They are the reflection of the country ambition, and we keep talking about them as the new investment plans because they set out the objectives that then help to unlock funding both nationally, internationally, so the whole climate finance piece, but also give a very strong signal to the private sector. And we focused on how we can showcase the super pollutants specifically in those NDCs. The third element that I wanted to highlight is we're on the road to COP30. And obviously holding this meeting here in Brasilia, in Brazil, when Brazil is the host of COP30 was extremely important. We're halfway between the last COP and the next COP. So for us, this was an opportunity to look together at concrete suggestions. Can we bring to COP30, knowing that we don't deal with the negotiations? We look at the voluntary actions. Agriculture played a big role, really in a way how we can help ensure food security, look at productivity gain, what is in it for the farmers while we reduce the emission and thereby also garner the health and climate benefits. It's also a way for us to make sure that what came out of last COP is carried through so that we can show results and progress on what we have done last time. And I want to highlight two elements here. One is the fossil fuel regulatory program, where we are really operationalizing this and we provide direct support to countries who want to do their regulations to make sure that the methane release from the oil and gas operations and also coal operations are limited to where we need to be. We do say, well, up to 80% is actually really needed here. The other one is the low M and reducing organic waste declaration that was carried by the COP presidency last time, Azerbaijan. So here we have seen now over 60 countries that have joined the organic waste reduction objectives, representing over 50% of the methane emissions from that particular sector. So that's encouraging. And here we saw several municipalities joining us in the lowering organic waste initiative. So that's encouraging, a real fresh air. Because this is an agenda of multiple benefits, we think we can really bring something to the table during these difficult times. And you see I'm holding this little stress ball in my hands. This is to remind ourselves that by cutting these super pollutants and acting on them, we can release the stress that we put through climate and air pollution on ourselves and on nature. Thank you.